Hello everyone, welcome to another card combo show with me, Chocobilly, and yes, my office has changed again. The card I'm looking at this week is Warrior of Light from Opus 20. It's a 2CP 5k fire forward with the text, when Warrior of Light enters the field, reveal the top 4 cards of your deck. Remove 1 card among them from the game and return the other cards to the bottom of your deck in any order. You can cast it at any time you could normally cast it this turn. So yeah, that is ultimately the biggest drawback to this card, is this turn. You cannot reveal a card, remove from the game, pass turn, and then cast it later. It has to be used this turn. So in some ways that makes revealing summons worse, because normally they're the sorts of things you have to save for your opponent's turn. So, you know, like revealing Amaterasu, for example, would kind of suck. But it does mean that you get to cast something without eating into your hand's resources, because even if you play a 4 CP onto the field, and even if you use all of your backups to do so, that is still a card from your hand, which ultimately is 2 CP, right? So you always have to consider that when doing these sorts of things. So Warrior of Light is a nice addition, or a nice way to be able to not eat into your hand CP, and just get a bit of efficiency. So, Faris, obviously, Warrior of Light is a Warrior of Light, and there is the other Fire Faris, but I actually have always been very fond of this card, and when you're running something like Warrior Light, which is kind of more efficiency focused and ramp, I think this one does a better job of that. So obviously you can, when a Warrior of Light enters the field, you can select one of the two, either deal 2000 damage to a forward for each Warrior of Light you control, Warrior Light forward you control, sorry, or during this turn the cost required to cast your next job Warrior of Light is reduced by 2. I've gone over this combo before, but there is a nice way to be able to daisy chain it in to increase the reduction you would get. So, for example, Faris, reduces your cost by 2 when you cast a Warrior of Light, but if you cast into a play, into a play, into a play, that will then stack the reduction of the next card you would cast. So you can Aegis into Dusk, into Lena, into Warrior Light, for example, which would mean that your next Warrior of Light can be cast onto the field for -8, which is pretty good. Obviously it can't become 0, but still, being able to make it so that the, is it Sarah backup? Which would be a 7 cost, is now only a 1 cost. It's pretty good. But ultimately, being able to play, Warrior Light to then reduce the cost of your next Warrior of Light by 2 with Faris on the field, because her stipulation is literally only, during this turn, the cost required to cast your next job Warrior Light is reduced by 2. Not cast from hand, just cast. So Warrior Light onto the field, reveal top 4 cards, there's another Warrior Light there. That card can now cost -2 because of Faris's effect. Ifrit. If a fire forward is entered the field this turn, the cost required to cast Ifrit is reduced by 3. Choose one forward, deal it 7000 damage. So, Warrior Light, reveal Ifrit, cast Ifrit for free. Nice. As I mentioned before, if you don't use it then and there, it is removed from the game permanently and cannot be used. So you have to make sure that you're going to be doing something with it. But, you know, that's one of the reasons I like Warrior Light more than Fistolis, is 4 cards on the top of your deck is much more versatile, and it's not like a 50-50. Hopefully you can at least kill something with this. But on the flip side, it's kind of a weird one, because ultimately you're paying 2 CP for a 5k forward that deals 7k upon entry, but it's kind of like a faux 4 CP because you still have to put the card in the break zone, Ifrit. But yeah, either way, it's a nice option potentially, and is a free cast ultimately. Atomos. Now, obviously, Warrior of Light plays nicely into something like Wind. Firewind doesn't get, well, it gets a decent amount of play, but not a huge amount, mostly just due to the fact that there's a horrible Zidane card in the element matchup. But either way, yeah, like I said before, having it so that you can reveal cards off the top of your deck and cast them, and that not eat into your hand efficiency, is very nice, and using something like Atomos is perfect for that. So obviously you've got Atomos, Rosa, Zidane, Pinello, all cards that work really, really nicely with Warrior Light. Now, obviously, if you are in Fire, Wind, then you're going to have a different mixture of the elements. It's not going to be just Wind with a little bit of fire. Well, it might be just Wind with a little bit of fire, but, you know, ultimately, Warrior of Light into Rosa, that immediately gives you 2 CP back from Atomos, into Zidane, steal a card from your opponent's deck, into Pinello. And the reason I go for Pinello as well is because at the end of each of your turns, deal 1000 damage for each card you have cast this turn to all the forward spinning controls. And, you know, Atomos, Rosa, Zidane, Pinello, all cards that like to see you cast more things. And Warrior of Light, you know, being on fire, it might be a case of you Warrior Light, you reveal Salamander, you cast Salamander, you then play Pinello onto the field, and pass turn. That's 3 things you've cast, deal 3k to the board, plus the Salamander, which was 5. So you've dealt 8k to your opponent's board and gain 2 forwards. If you've got any other dancers as well, you can use Pinello's effect and then make those forwards 4k as well. So pop them that way. But either way, Warrior of Light into something else, into Zidane, or Warrior of Light into something else, and then something else with Rosa. You know, Wind is just this disgustingly good ramp ability, but having Warrior of Light to be able to reveal things and then be able to cast said things is also fun. Bahamut, so if you control 3 or more category 13 characters, the cost required to cast Bahamut is reduced by 3, so it only costs you 2. Warrior Light, reveal Bahamut, maybe 3, 13 backups, cast it for 2. If you've got Fang on the field, you attack with her, that reduces Bahamut by 2 as well, so you can then cast it for completely free, which is very, very nice. Auron, if you control 2 or more forwards, the cost required to cast Auron is reduced by 2. So it might be a case of you've already got a forward on the field, you play Warrior Light, you reveal Auron, play Auron onto the field for free. For 3, sorry. Paying 5 CP for these 2 forwards, not the worst thing. It's just a nice little way to accelerate or to find the card you want. Warrior of Light, that is. You know, all of these things are kind of utilizing more efficiency and ramp a little bit by reducing costs or be able to play things for free. But that is kind of where Warrior Light's strength is being able to just keep on accelerating through your deck to find cards, to keep on playing cards, to keep on doing things. 9. So, a bit of a weird one, but you could be in Fire, Lightning, and Wind, Class 0 Cadet deck, and you just reveal your 9. You can dull 1 active Fire, or dull 1 active Fire and Lightning, job Class 0 Cadet forwards, instead of paying the CP cost to cast 9. Again, to cast 9, full stop. Not from your hand, so he can be removed from the game through Warrior of Light's effect. Dull those 2 forwards, play 9s onto the field. Rain. The cost is reduced by 1 for each of fire backup you control. Mono Fire, that's really good. Warrior of Light likes Mono Fire as well, so yeah, just again, playing Rain for only 1 CP, Warrior of Light into Rain is quite the acceleration, especially given that at damage 3 he gains haste. Talika, so obviously you would use Talika before playing Warrior Light, which means he then becomes a 1 CP, you play him to then reveal something, but again, the cost required to play your characters onto the field this turn is reduced by 1, can't become 0. Just play onto the field. So again, it doesn't matter if the card is removed through an ability, you can still reduce its cost. So Warrior of Light would be 1 CP onto the field, and then whatever character you reveal, bear in mind the fact that you can't reduce the cost of your summons with Talika. But yeah, you then play something else onto the field. Maybe it would be Barsh, the Earth Fire Barsh, play it onto the field for 2 CP, gives her point damage, search for something else, and keep on rinsing, repeating, utilizing Talika's effect to reduce the cost of your characters. Jesse, cost required to play your card name Cloud or card name Barrett onto the field is reduced by 1. So Warrior of Light, reveal 3 CP Barrett, play him onto the field for free immediately. It's quite nice. Obviously it works nicely with any of those guys, so you know you got the Barrett. Not Jesse, choose that card. How's my brain just forgotten these cards? Wedge, Biggs, there we go. Jesus, it's not like the massive staples now of Final Fantasy, is it? But yeah, revealing any of those cards and being able to play them onto the field for cheap through Warrior of Light is quite nice as well, and it is fire, so it fits nicely into that little package. Viking, yeah, card that hasn't seen play for a very long time, but ultimately Vikings are fun. Warrior Light, you reveal a Viking, play a Viking, to reveal a Viking, to play a Viking, rinse and repeat until you got like 10 Vikings on the field. Also, it does kind of work with the Faris from like Opus, I'm gonna say like 17, 16, which can play a forward of, or up to 2 forwards with a combined power of, I think like 3,000, 4,000 power. So you can play like a Viking onto the field, but it's in fire, so I guess it kind of works. And finally, Ephemeral Summoner. When Ephemeral Summoner enters the field, you may search for 1 water summon across 4 less and put it on top of your deck. Play Warrior Light, reveal the summon, cast a summon. I mean, there's just too many summons, I can't really know what it might be effective for, but yeah, either way, you get to put a summon on top of your deck and immediately cast it. Now, obviously, you have had to play Ephemeral Summoner and Warrior Light, but again, this is about ramping, it's about finding the things you want and be able to cast them, so yeah, if you can kind of hedge your bets by doing so through these cards, then it's well worth it. Obviously, if it's a summoner with a nice EX, then maybe you just leave it on top of your deck anyway, don't worry about Warrior Light, but still, there are loads of ways to be able to put things on top of your deck now, and there are loads of ways to check the card on top of your deck. I didn't include them, but you know, there's things like the Geomancer, just dull it to look at the top card. If you don't like it, put it at the bottom of your deck. Loporit as well, top 2 cards, top or bottom, you know, there's lots of fun things you can do with those. No, sorry, Loporit is put it to the bottom of your deck. So that wasn't a good example. But the point of Warrior Light is really to just accelerate and play lots of things. I think he fits nicely into a Warrior Light deck because outside of the, obviously, multi-element 4 CP 10k Warrior Light, I think this guy actually works quite nicely to accelerate in maybe a Fire Water Walls deck, because being able to just look at the top 4 cards, find yourself another wall, play it back onto the field, keep on playing cards and just rinse and repeat, it's just a nice alternative, you know? Anyway, that is it for this week, folks. Make sure to like and subscribe. It really does make a big difference to the old YouTube algorithm and the channel. And also make sure to pop any comments down below of anything you might think I've missed, or just some cool combos you guys come across recently. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, guys. Stay safe, be lucky, and I'll see you in the next video.